Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your news update for September 4, 1939. The world remains gripped by the rapidly escalating war in Europe, now on its fourth day. After declarations of war from Britain and France yesterday, we are witnessing the first military actions by Allied forces against Germany, as tensions continue to mount across the continent. Early this morning, the British Royal Air Force launched its first raid against German naval assets in the North Sea. Several squadrons of RAF bombers, under the command of Air Chief Marshal Sir Cyril Newall, were dispatched to strike German warships near Wilhelmshaven. This marks Britain's first offensive action in the conflict, and reports indicate that the bombers encountered heavy anti-aircraft fire during their mission. While no detailed account of the raid's success has yet been provided, the operation signifies the beginning of Britain's military engagement against German forces. Meanwhile, the German advance into Poland continues with relentless force. Reports from the Polish front are grim, as German divisions press deeper into Polish territory. Marshal Edward Rydz-Śmigły, commander-in-chief of the Polish armed forces, is rallying his troops to defend key positions, but the German blitzkrieg, characterized by fast-moving armored divisions, air raids, and coordinated infantry assaults, has placed Polish forces under severe strain. The situation in the capital, Warsaw, remains tense, as Polish citizens brace for potential German attacks on the city. Air raid sirens continue to sound, and the Polish government is urging civilians to stay sheltered. The German Luftwaffe has been particularly active in its bombardment of Polish cities, factories, and military installations. Casualties are mounting, though exact numbers remain difficult to confirm. The scale of destruction is said to be devastating, with many civilians caught in the crossfire. Despite this, the Polish resistance remains resolute. We are receiving reports that Polish forces are continuing to fight valiantly in defense of their homeland, despite being outnumbered and facing one of the most powerful military machines in Europe. On the diplomatic front, the governments of Great Britain and France remain in close communication, coordinating their efforts to confront Germany. Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain addressed the British Parliament today, reaffirming Britain's commitment to Poland and promising that British forces will stand firm against aggression. In France, Premier Edward Daladier also spoke before the French Chamber of Deputies, stressing that France will fulfill its obligations to Poland and to the defense of European peace. Both leaders have expressed hope that further Allied actions will help halt Germany's rapid advance. Across Britain, military preparations are intensifying. British troops, under the command of General John Gort, are mobilizing as part of the British Expeditionary Force, BEF, which will soon be deployed to France to support the Allied effort. Recruitment offices throughout the country are seeing a surge of volunteers, eager to serve in defense of the nation. Meanwhile, the Royal Navy, commanded by Admiral Sir Dudley Pound, continues to prepare for naval operations to protect British shores and disrupt German shipping. The French army, led by General Maurice Gamelin, is positioning itself along the border with Germany, reinforcing the Maginot Line and preparing for any possible German assault. French troops are now fully mobilized, and there are reports of French air and naval units moving into defensive positions. Although no major land battles between French and German forces have been reported as of yet, tensions along the Franco-German border remain high. Elsewhere in Europe, the reactions to the conflict vary. While neutral nations continue to observe the situation with caution, there is growing concern that this war may spread beyond Poland. In neutral countries, diplomatic missions are being monitored closely as governments weigh their options and consider how best to respond to the unfolding events. In the United States, President Franklin D. Roosevelt once again addressed the nation today, reassuring Americans that the United States remains neutral in this European conflict. The president reiterated his administration's commitment to avoiding entanglement in foreign wars, but he also emphasized that America is watching the situation with great concern. The question of how this war might affect international relations and trade is now being discussed in Washington, as the world grapples with the uncertainty that lies ahead. In the streets of London, Paris, and Warsaw, the mood is one of apprehension. In Britain, citizens are preparing for the possibility of air raids, with bomb shelters being readied and blackout measures enforced. French citizens, too, are taking precautions as they prepare for what could be a long and difficult conflict. In Poland, the situation is growing increasingly desperate, as civilians seek refuge from the German bombardments and the Polish military fights to hold back the tide of invasion. As this day comes to a close, the world watches in fear and uncertainty. Germany's ambitions have cast a long shadow over Europe, and the declarations of war by Britain and France signal the opening of a wider conflict. What the future holds remains unclear, but for now, the people of Europe are preparing for the worst. This has been your news for September 4, 1939. Stay tuned as we continue to bring you the latest updates on the conflict in Europe. Good night, and may peace return to our troubled world. Please like and subscribe.